JBN, we keep you informed. St. James cop in hot water over party shooting. A St. James constable who has reportedly had multiple reports of misconduct made against him in the past is again under investigation following his alleged involvement in a shooting incident at an illegal party in the Springmount policing area earlier this week. The officer was ordered to report to the Freeport police station in Montego Bay following the incident. His licensed firearm was taken from him. A number of spent casings were reportedly recovered. Errol Chateau, Director of Complaints at the Independent Commission of Investigations Indicom, said that a complaint was made to his office and an investigation has been launched into the incident. We would have also learned that the officer in question discharged his weapon on multiple occasions while at the party, and he was asked to report to the Freeport police station and to turn over his firearm at the CIB department, which he did. The weapon has now been sent off to the lab in Kingston for ballistics testing, Chateau said. Reports are that the officer, who was recently transferred from the Freeport police station to Cambridge, attended a party in Flamstead, St. James on Tuesday at 2 a.m. while he was off duty. Parties that go beyond 10 p.m. an hour before the national curfew would be operating in breach of COVID-19 protocols under the Disaster Risk Management Act. The cop was allegedly seen consuming liquor, following which an altercation erupted between him and a businessman. The cop reportedly pulled his licensed firearm and discharged several rounds in the air, sending patrons running for cover. The businessman fled in a vehicle. It is further alleged that the officer chased the businessman and fired more shots. The businessman managed to escape and drove to the Freeport police station where he made a report. Meanwhile, a senior officer said that the authorities are aware of past adverse reports. This is not the first instance we have heard this officer's name coming up in a case of misconduct, and the very fact that he was actually off duty while attending a party being held at 2 o'clock in the morning is a clear breach of what the Jamaica Constabulary Force stands for, and also a breach against the Disaster Risk Management Act, the senior officer said. St. Anne police search for armed robbers. The St. Anne police are searching for a group of robbers carrying high-powered rifles and targeting communities in the parish. The men struck on Tuesday in Hibiscus Way and the Civil Heights, robbing a businessman and his wife. The couple arrived home about 6 p.m. when a white Nissan Tido drove up. 3 men, 2 armed with M16 rifles, held up and robbed the businessman of his licensed firearm and 22 rounds of ammunition. The couple was also robbed of valuables and cash. Woman and a foreigner among 5 charged with gun seizure in St. Thomas. 3 women and a foreigner, who were among 5 persons taken into custody by the St. Thomas police on Sunday, following the seizure of firearm and ammunition, have been charged. They are 38-year-old Leonard Campbell, an assistant manager from South Carolina in the United States, and 18-year-old Chadwick Henry, a farmer of Artis, Yala, St. Thomas. The others are 23-year-old Tassin Scott, 22-year-old cosmetologist Michelle Lee Lewis, and a 20-year-old student Joanna Lewis, all of Newlands, Yalas. They are scheduled to appear before the St. Thomas Parish Court next Wednesday. The car in which they were traveling was intercepted in the hillside community near Reggae Falls. During a search of the car, the police reportedly found a .45 pistol with a magazine containing 7 cartridges in the glove compartment. It was reported that none of the occupants of the car could account for the firearm and ammunition. PM threatens tougher protocols amid 30-case COVID one-day jump. Amber lights are going off in the government. The warnings were serious enough to force a meeting of the cabinet on Thursday to respond to a jaw-dropping 30-case spike in COVID-19 infections within a 24-hour span in Jamaica, fearing that the early alarm could be the tip of the iceberg. The surge is set to trigger tighter restrictions, even as Prime Minister Andrew Holness has ditched moral suasion to get compliance with COVID-19 protocols. It is one of Jamaica's largest single-day spikes since the pandemic broke, signaling worry for the administration as it seeks to keep the economy open as a recession looms amid the possibility of a second wave of the virus causing further crisis. A looming election, tantalizingly teased by the Prime Minister, also complicates the equation. The total number of cases in Jamaica up to Thursday is now 958. There are 149 active cases under observation, including 7 moderately ill persons. Holness has blamed the emerging crisis on a few who he labeled as weak fences for the dilemma facing the government. We have spent a lot of time and effort and resources on moral suasion, asking you, the citizens, appealing to your good conscience and your reasonableness to observe the protocols. With what is happening now, I think we're at the limit with moral suasion, Holness declared last night, interrupting Independence Day celebrations. My own view is that we have the majority of Jamaicans who are reasonable and who try their best to comply. But we have some weak fences, some people who believe they have some special immunity to the disease. What they have done is to put others at risk, the Prime Minister said. Holness disclosed in a Jamaica House press conference that a pastor has been implicated for breaching the Disaster Risk Management Act, alleging that the cleric recently flew into the island and officiated services with no restrictions. According to the Prime Minister, a majority of the emerging cases have been linked to the pastor. The churches in general have, by and large, supervised themselves, and many of them have put in place measures over and above what we have put in the Disaster Risk Management Act, he said. The Prime Minister further noted that the statistical trend line is heading towards a threshold that could cause the lockdown of the country's borders and the economy, and a call for the prosecution of those flouting coronavirus laws. I am certainly convinced in my mind that the only way we're going to be able to confront this disease, keep our economy going, ensure that we can recover from this recession and remain healthy, is to prosecute those who will deliberately go out of their way to ignore the law and to place all of us at risk, Holness said, contending that the government has before now been reluctant to charge offenders. Consequent on the heightened fear surrounding the 30-case spike, the government has decided to prohibit conference and conventions for churches. The entertainment sector is expected to be affected by new orders in the wake of news last week that approximately 700 events occurred without the required permits and state oversight. Holness called on entertainers to use their influence to appeal to patrons to abide by the coronavirus protocols if they want the industry to remain afloat. We ask you to understand that we can't put the entire country at risk. If we allow entertainment to emerge, then we expect that you must be responsible, he said. Attendance at beaches and rivers is also expected to be affected by the new orders. The extent of the tighter restrictions will be fully revealed between Friday and Tuesday when the Parliament is reconvened, Holness said on Thursday evening. Moments before the Jamaica House presser commenced, news trickled in that the security forces were moving in to set up checkpoints. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton confirmed that Church Corner St. Thomas community has been placed under quarantine. Earlier Thursday, a quarantine was also imposed in Sandy Bay, Clarendon. He said the quarantine would last for 14 days. The area of interest spans approximately 0.9 square kilometers and is bound by a 4.3 kilometer perimeter. 16 positive cases have been identified in St. Thomas recently, notably from Bamboo River and Church Corner.
The origin of these cases are quite interesting. It only takes one infected person to create the challenges that we face at the community level. In the case of St. Thomas, it was an individual who originated from St. Catherine, had symptoms, went into the parish to visit family and friends in the generalized area, went to church, based on the contact tracing information, was prayed for by the congregation based on their particular illness, and that led, this is a summary of course, to a case of members of the congregation, friends who they visited, and relatives being infected by the virus. So one person who traveled from an adjoining parish into that location, and this has led to the quarantining arrangements. Again, if you have symptoms, report it to the doctor. Visit your health center, visit your hospital. That is the way we can determine at this time whether or not you need particular attention and whether you represent a risk. Don't take chances.
Daly calls for resignation of IDT chair over JLP candidacy. Opposition spokesman on Labour and Social Security, Horace Daly, is calling for the immediate resignation of Marsha Smith as chairperson and member of the Industrial Dispute Tribunal IDT, consequent to her engagement as a candidate for the Jamaica Labour Party JLP in the St. Ann North Eastern. Daly said the IDT is an independent quasi-judicial body that must adjudicate on matters between workers and employers, which often include the government. He said it is therefore untenable that Smith would begin her engagement as a candidate for the JLP and continue her association in whatever capacity with the IDT as an impartial actor. Ms. Smith must tender her resignation immediately so that the integrity and neutrality of the IDT can be maintained, Daly stated. He said for the workers' sake, the country cannot allow the perception of fairness and even-handedness at the IDT to be compromised by this development. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.